same time. Can't do that.
Maybe you could.
Ferrandis. Ferrandis. That just doesn't look right.
I know it looks weird when you type it, probably because it's underlined red.
Well, because the announcers call him Fernandez.
Fernandez.
That makes it
Yeah. Everybody says his last name different.
Ferrandis.
To be fair, I've heard Plessinger say his name two different ways.
Hey.
Plessinger.
Yeah.
Like him personally has.
I think I've heard him say it two different ways.
That'd be like, yeah. So my name's Ryan Ritter, and then
Ryder.
The next day, yeah, my name's Ryan Ryder. I don't know how.
Well, I think it's because like people like fuck it up all the time, so he's just like whatever.
He just fully embraces.
He just goes with it, yeah.
Both ways. All right. Well, the red light is on, and we are back. Dylan.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 8 of the Insiders Podcast, brought to you by the Media Pub and Irenic CBD. Today, we're joined by Caleb Tennant. What's up, Caleb? Thanks for coming.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Glad we finally got you on.
We're going to bring this thing in a little bit tighter.
Been trying to get this going for a few weeks, but schedule's been pretty gnarly, so
yeah, dude,
I made a time.
I will say, so after having this podcast for a little bit, one of the main things is like scheduling people.
Yeah.
And it's always a pain in the ass, but I will say you are one of the busiest motherfuckers I know.
I know, it's been good, dude.
Dude, you'll be at the track in the morning, and then I see that you're back at the track at night.
Yeah, most
like
days it's
2 days.
2 a day, and then often I still have the guys in the gym, so sometimes I'll go to the track, come to the gym, do some stuff with that, and then go back to like a mini night. Some days just do double up sessions at the track, and then sometimes gym in the evenings, trying to plan everything. But it's been awesome, dude. I can't complain. It's been just over a year since I've done this like kind of full time, and it couldn't be going any better.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. You are from South Africa.
Yeah, so I've been racing since I was 4 years old in South Africa. I won 6 South African titles, and back and forth I always came to the States. I came to America in 2010 for 2 months to train. I was at MTF in 2011 for 6 months. I was actually meant to be there full time, and I ended up dislocating my shoulder just before Loretta's. That put me out for a couple of months, and then every time traction got going, I'd get injured. So I took some breaks from racing, always found myself coming back to it, and then I really took a big hit at it in 2018, and I won both my South African titles in MX1 and MX2, and that's when I decided to make the full-time move to try come in to make it in the States. So I ended up moving down in January 2019 full-time.
So when you initially came over here, the initial idea was to race professionally?
Yeah, to race professionally. It was, it's just everything in my life. I'd done so many different things. I worked in stunts and film for like 4 years, worked in different businesses and stuff like that, and just everything always brought me back to racing, and I just felt like I never had accomplished what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it just always in my mind, I knew I was meant to land up here in one way or another, so it all ended up working out pretty good.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know Caleb, Caleb is a very recognized trainer out here on the West Coast. You've got a handful of pretty successful dudes. I mean, yeah. Dangerboy.
Yeah.
I mean, who else do you got?
So I got quite a lot of the good mini kids. I got Haiden, Deegan, obviously, and Hudson. He rides a bit more for fun though. I've got Kalana Humphrey. I've got Joshua Malimi, another rider from South Africa. I've got some pretty good 65 riders. White Thurman. I've got actually a bunch of kids that I work with. But in the beginning, I was working with a little bit of pros. I worked with Luke Clouts a little bit before Supercross. But it was really hard doing the amateurs and the pros, and the only problem like in these days is a lot of the pros, unless they're on a factory team that already have a good trainer, none of the pros really have good money, so it was kind of hard to do a bit of both. So I decided I want to focus on like the next generation of guys, for sure, the next up and coming kids who are going to make an impact, and I think that's where I can make my most impact right now. So I've really decided to focus on the more amateur kids, from 50 riders to guys going to 250 pro from all those levels. So also Mark Phineas is a new rider that I've been working with alongside. He trains between myself and Nathan Ramsey. Really, really fast kid in the 125. So it's slowly gaining good traction, and some pretty good riders.
Is that the 105 kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, he rips,
yeah,
dude. He's really fast.
It's super impressive. So we got a good couple. We've got a good little group of guys now, and I think it's only going to evolve and get bigger and better, and
for sure
do some damage this year for sure.
For sure, I think so as well. What exactly brought you from racing to training? Like what was the crossing point from, all right, we're not gonna put all this effort into myself, and I'm gonna go more into the training.
Well, I was always
side of it.
training in South Africa between my racing too, and even when I first came to the States in 2019, I started with Noah Viney and Bjorn Viney. They also, Noah's really successful, and he's racing also in Hayden's class, and I was racing and coaching at the same time, and I was being my own mechanic for quite a long time. So I was training myself, trying to race, do my own deals, coach people, wash my bikes. I was kind of doing everything, And I came for the 2019 season to race the outdoors. I ended up getting hurt just after Hangtown round 1, which kind of destroyed me because I was like, I put everything into it, everything was going great, and then another injury, and then
the wrist.
That was the broken wrist.
Paris.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were
I was there that
riding.
day.
Actually, Dylan and I were training.
Almost landed on him.
And I got back for the last 4 rounds, and everything was going great, but there was just something that I didn't feel right. Like all my training, everything was on point, and I couldn't last more than like 10 minutes in a moto, and I kind of got through it. I scored some points in the 450s, which was pretty impressive for my first year.
For sure.
But I found out I had Epstein-Barr virus, which is kind of just a virus that a lot of the riders deal with. And it's from different reasons. They say it's from overtraining, but for me, it wasn't overtraining. For me, it was just the emotional and mental stress that came with the racing, the training, the planning, everything like that.
Doing everything on your own.
And then I kind of got told, like, your body's, like, for my body to be back to normal, I first of all had to take off between 3 and 6 months completely, which I did take off 3 months of no training, no riding, eating super healthy, all that stuff, and my body would always be susceptible to, like, you almost can't stay away from it. So I would have to be so scientific with my body and my recovery and my planning, where I wasn't racing, I needed to be able to be super gnarly, dig deeper than anyone, and try and just train as hard as I can to be there, where if I couldn't do that, how am I ever going to be where I want to be in racing? So
right.
I took, I think, 3 or 4 months off riding, training, everything, and I went kind of full-time into the coaching, and actually had a deal lined up with Creative Sports Concepts where he was going to pay for my whole 2020 season for Supercross and outdoors. And I came to a crossroad. I had to ditch what I'd been building with my coaching and give it one more shot at racing. And I just thought there's too much on the line. And I feel like I can do more in the sport, be bigger in the sport in coaching than I think I would be in my racing.
Right.
And with the virus, everything that went on, it was the best decision I made for sure.
Yeah, that's a big career choice.
Yeah,
it is. That's a hard decision for sure.
It was gnarly because I felt like I was close to where I wanted to be, like my speed wise, where I'd learned what I needed to, but to get to that next step, I needed a whole nother year. Like I knew I wasn't going to come off the bat and be a top 10 guy in 450s. I needed that time to get there. You don't have that time. Like there's just too much at risk. And I'm like, I moved over here. Kylie and I bought a house together. I moved my whole life over, and I'm like, I couldn't risk any more. To try and give it one more shot at racing. I just thought the risk versus reward wasn't worth it.
No, it's got to be worth it.
Yeah,
for sure.
So like I said,
Miriam knows all about that.
Yeah, I'm going through that still. I haven't made my decision.
But you never want, like, there's always a part of you that thinks, like, when I get on a bike now, again, I don't ride often just with my time, but when I do,
you're like, wow, I still got it.
Dude, I pick up, I mean, I look, like I was saying to Ryan earlier, I look at some videos and some footage from me back in 2019, and I want to kick myself seeing, like, little things I know
now that you critique yourself.
Now that I critique so many riders, like, and I because I want to learn, I want to see why is this person so much better, how can they be faster, and I analyze so much of it that I wish I look just little things, dropping my elbows, braking, coming into corners, going back on my arm, like putting my head back out of just little things that make such a big difference, especially in outdoors. Like there's one thing about being fast at these tracks here, when you get to the outdoors, it's a complete different level, and I think that's the best thing I did do. At least I did get to do a couple of others outdoors, because I don't think I could. You could never put yourself in that position unless you've been there. It's not
you have to experience it to know.
At least I got to do that, to know what it takes, what you need to be there, and how far off you are to where you need to be at that level.
I think that's a lot of I think that's a big deal in this industry, is a lot of the trainers, like a lot of them kind of get hated on sometimes because they haven't went through all the experience of actually racing a 450 national. And that's where, like, guys like you and Swanee have a lot more leeway, because you've actually done it. Even
though I didn't get as where I wanted to be in the sport and all that, but I'd been through enough that I know the mental battles. I've been there. I know those little things that could be off on a race day where you can't figure out those little things. Why I was a mental head case. I always had the speed. I mean, I could on any given day run the speed of anyone, it was never a speed problem, but my thing growing up, and I wish I could go back, I never, even though I had everyone telling me I had enough to do it, and I had good results and all that, I never, especially when I came to the States the first few years, I was so intimidated by everyone that like I never believed I could be like, it took so long, and when I realized it was almost too late. So it's such a big mental thing.
Yeah,
so
you know more than anybody that, I mean, this sport is just as much mental as it is.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, I studied.
Oh, honestly, I feel like it's more.
The
brain is way strong, and you're either your best, I mean, you're freaking, your best motivator or your worst enemy. You know what I mean? And dude, so that goes either way.
Yeah, but even studying the outdoors and watching all these things, and as at least being a rider at that level, you can watch from a film and kind of tell, okay, this is gnarly. But dude, being on that track, and I even watched the motos afterwards, I'm like, that wasn't the same track I was on, dude. Like,
right.
This is unreal.
Oh yeah, and like literally, like the best races I've ever had in my career were literally one of the hardest and honestly kind of miserable. Like I remember at like Budds Creek, I got 9th overall, and those 2 motos, it was 100 degrees, humid. Like I was dead. I laid in an ice bath between motos. Literally, like I thought I was gonna die.
Dude, that was.
And that is my highlights. Like you know what I mean? Like that was the greatest motos in like overall day I had in an outdoor 450 national, and it's like I was miserable. I felt sick. At the end of the day, when we're done, I'm like, oh, this is badass. Like, all right, cool. But during, it's like moment. It's miserable. Like in the moment, you don't see that. Especially these top guys, they make it look so easy.
Dude, that's the thing. I remember Budds Creek. You're talking about that Maui in 2019. That was the second last outdoor, and I got out for press day. And at that time, Grant Langston was training me on the bike, and I came off press day and I was exhausted, and it was like 30 minutes or 15 minutes out in press day, and Grant's like, dude, what is going on with you? Like, are you not doing what you're saying? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm doing everything I can, and I just wanted it so bad to prove myself that I raced that next day. And I remember the halftime thing came out, and I was like, there's no ways. And I had a terrible start. I think I was 25th.
I hate seeing that thing,
I caught up to like 19th or 18th, and dude, it was, my vision started going blurry. I was so delusional by the end of the moto. The last lap I peed myself. I couldn't see the rats in the corners. But I just was like, I have to finish this race. And I got delusional by the end. I remember coming off, going that I thought it was my mechanic. I'm screaming at my mechanic to get on the bike. I think I'm going to pass out. It wasn't my mechanic.
Holy shit.
It was some other random dude. I got in, dived in an ice bath. I couldn't get I was in an ice bath for like 10 minutes. I couldn't get my temperature down.
Wow.
And then it's rough. And then that's when I was like, I don't know what's going on. I couldn't even line up for the second moto. And then I still had to go race that next weekend. Try to train in the week 2. It was just like, you don't know what to do. It's like,
and that was before you knew you had Epstein-Barr, right?
Well, that's after the last. Well, that's when I kind of started realizing something's not right. Like, there's no ways. I've done all this.
It's hard, but it shouldn't be this hard.
And everyone thought it would be like overtraining, but like I was also saying to Ryan, I had a guy, John Wakefield, who's super scientific. Like he's the head trainer for the Dubai Emirates cycling team, and they just won the Tour de France. So like my thing was never the overtraining. He was so much about recovery and making sure your body's right. So I followed all that stuff, but it's just the mental, the stress that comes with that whole thing as a privateer. It's just.
No, I get that. I've done everything myself too. Pretty much my bike work, riding, gym, all that stuff, and it's stressful shit.
That's why people ask me now, like, do you miss it? And I'm looking now and I'm like, parts of me I do, like I really wanted more, but at the same point
you miss the best parts, but there's so many shitty parts, you know what I mean?
Dude, the amount of mental, like, I mean, it's any rider, the stuff you have to overcome, and it teaches you a whole lot for life, I must say. Like, when it comes to hard work, dedication, when you're a racer and you have to do these things, it makes you tough as a person, you know, like other challenges aren't so hard.
For sure.
So you can't take anything back. And dude, I remember at one point in 2019, I'm like, I've spent like 20 years doing this, like, and like, what has it done? And then like now, luckily, it's got to a point where it's all paid itself back. And it's going to be something where I can make a career out of it, you know, long term.
So we'll kind of use that to ramp into the next topic. What again, we kind of covered a little bit already. You train Haiden Deegan. He's probably one of the most famous kids on a dirt bike right now.
Well, I'd say he's probably the most promising up and coming kid right now.
What how was the experience with that? Like
it was awesome. Actually, when I first started with Brian, I think it was end of 2019, I was just training Hudson. So I was working with Hudson quite a lot, and then I'd do certain days with Hayden, and slowly and Brian was straight up with me from the beginning. He said, look, we're going to use different trainers. Like, we always want to keep it like mixing things up. But I've been really lucky enough that we've just bonded great. We've learned to trust each other. and it's been an awesome experience, and we've been going for almost a year and a half now, and it's been great. And I'm sure at some point he has to get signed to the factory team, so I'm trying to get him the best he can possibly be to get him to that next level.
Right.
Or he's always been an amazing rider. I haven't had to reinvent the wheel. It's just trying to work on the little things, keep him motivated. He's finally focusing much more off the bike, what needs to be done on the bike. So we're finally in a good structured program, and it's been Brian and obviously the YouTube. It's been a nice thing for both of us because people have got to see my training style, what we do together, and I've also been able to help a lot of the other riders. And for people watching, they can actually learn quite a lot,
For sure. And that's like another thing that we were kind of just talking about a little bit before we got on air. I mean, anybody that knows you, when they see you at the track, you're just fucking wide open. But you're really good at taking every single kid. Again, we were just talking about this. You usually don't have over 5 guys.
Yeah, I maxed out at 5. I started off always with 3, then I went, and when I've had more than 5, I feel like I can't give them that personal attention. So I've always limited to 5 guys, especially at normal tracks where there's other people going and you can't stand in the track. And when there's a million things going on, you need to still have that attention. And we, especially because of California, a lot of the way the tracks are. After kind of 3.5 hours, the tracks are blown out. So our sessions are generally 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I mean, dude, it's weird. It's something that I've really adapted to. So while I'll have kids I've seen for the first time, I've just met them, never worked with them before, and I'll have them do a section twice, and I can tell each of them what they did good, what they did bad, what their lines they each did, and go 2 more times, and more minutes. And I was trying to make sure, because I've been there where I've had to pay for my own training, and it's tough.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that every training session, someone's like, okay, cool, that was money well spent.
And that is legit, not just sucking your dick. I was out in the hills with you a few days ago, and you had your 5 guys, and I mean, I was filming, so I was doing my thing too, but I legitimately watched you go through every dude and give them
full attention,
5 minutes of full attention on what they need to do to a fucking fully detailed degree.
Right.
It's not.
It's insane how you can take the time to watch every single dude and then relay all that back to him, and it makes sense. You're not doing it in a way that you're just fucking screaming at him or bitching at him.
Right.
They're actually taking it in, and it's crazy seeing little kids. I mean, I remember trying to do the training thing when I was a kid, dude. It is hard.
Yeah, and
as a kid, it's hard to listen.
It's also a mix of the balance of you need this also, because a lot of riders, maybe they're not doing, especially the more beginner guys, there's a lot of things they're doing wrong, but you got to always try and when someone's feeling down on themselves and that you can just tell them all the stuff they're doing wrong, it puts them in a bad mental stage. You know? So with a lot of, I mean, obviously now Hayden, if he starts messing up, I'm just dude, what are you doing? I'm at that point, or
you're comfortable enough.
You can't make stupid mistakes and stuff like that.
Right.
But guys that are still learning, you try and be okay, cool. I always try and give a positive note, that was good what you did there, but this is what needs to be worked on. And then I'll give him a note what to work on. And if he did that better, I'll be cool, that was awesome, but did you feel this? And because also with training, I feel there's not one way to teach a riding style. Yes, there's all the basics that you should know, but everyone finds a way to flow differently, and everyone reacts differently. So you got to try and, I don't tell someone this is how you got to do it and that's it. I'll be okay, go try this and let's experiment with this and see if that was better. Now, how did you feel? Okay, you like that? Give me feedback, so we can try and figure out what is it that you're struggling with, why, and how can we make it better? Instead of just saying this is what you got to do, go do it.
Yeah, because that one theory isn't necessarily going to work on every single person.
Everyone has such different style, and you know what I mean. You just got to adapt to each individual person. But that's one thing I like the most and respect too is like you said, you won't really go over more than 5 guys, because I've seen you out at the track. You're very observant, and you notice the littlest things too. The little things are some of the most important things. But a lot of these, I'm not calling any specific trainers out, just a lot of people, they just want money. So it's I'll do 10 guys. There's no way you can give attention to 10 guys. I doubt you're even seeing what that guy's gonna do. But if you come back and just say, oh yeah, do this or that, they're probably gonna be oh well, you must have saw. And you're very when you explain things, you're very detailed.
And dude, also we'll do our sprints or our motos, and I have my stopwatch that takes 4, and then I'll have my phone which takes the 5th guy, and I'm watching them doing their times, and being able to try and observe all that. So it's a lot. Dude, like after a day of, like I was saying, I'm definitely more exhausted after a day of coaching than I am.
Oh yeah, that's a lot to take in, process, and relay.
Yeah, and then
like he said, how do you even remember all that shit?
And then everyone might feel like, oh, it must be so fun working with guys like Hayden and Mark and those guys. And I'm like, it is, but it's also challenging because I want to make a difference. I don't want to just go through the motions.
Right.
Which what happens, I think, when guys start getting really good, and you kind of just start getting lazy with them, which is what I don't want to do, because if that ever happened, then Brian would be like, okay, it's time to move on.
Right.
Now. We've kind of reached our max. So I'm always, so like with riders like Hayden and those guys, I'll just experiment different things. I'll try and see a line on the track and I'll be like, okay, I know this is not fast enough, but let's try to get that
it might be good.
Yeah. And then we're going to time this. How far difference is it off? Okay, we see how the track's developing. Do you see how this is going to be during the motor? This will become a good line because this one will end up getting blown out. Yes, you might sacrifice a bit here. So with Hayden, like those guys, it's more about trying to experiment and trying to understand and how can we figure out little ways to be better or more efficient and faster. And, but it's challenging to like almost when I don't like having a lot of guys with them because I'm really trying to analyze for the little things. Right. And that's the harder part. Dude, teaching intermediate guys is the most easiest thing for me in the world. Like, there's so much I need to work on.
Right. Well, and when you keep
it's like the little things.
Right. When you keep it challenging too, it keeps it more fun because it's like just when you do the same thing over and over and over and over, it's just going through the motions. You get bored
as well. Like, and that's a thing. Like,
and he's, especially with kids too.
Yeah, and everyone like the old school guys, even Brian will be like, hey, make him go to 30-minute motors, and I'm like, dude, he doesn't need to do 30-minute motors. He gets bored. If I'm like, Hayden, he can do it, but I see him about 15 minutes, he's just going through the motions where I'm like, we could have done 2x15s and stop quickly between for 5 minutes, chat about the notes, here's your lap times, what you got to change, and like you got to keep something to work on because otherwise he starts.
Yeah, it's not race. It's not race mode.
Back and he's switched off. So it's such a
literally your mind starts wandering.
I've got to try and keep him on his toes because that's when he's good. But when he starts just getting his comfort zone, then he gets
and that's hard too because you run out of things. Like not run out, but you can always find new things. But it's like you get to a point where you're like, fuck, what more can I do? What can I do differently?
But that's why I've been lucky with having even Kalana is obviously he's not at Hayden's level now, but he's fast enough that I could put him say like 10 seconds in front of Hayden and he'll hold Hayden off for half a lap, or I'll give him something to chase, or I'll have like Joshua Malini on the 250 who's riding really good in Mark, where now Hayden's not as fast as those guys, but he can hang on for a certain amount of time. On turn tracks he can run the same pace, so now at least having some faster riders, it's been a nice chase for Hayden. So it's just at that level it's like I said, it's harder working with those guys than guys that are still learning how to ride.
Right. It's got to be a good feeling though too, like Brian said in the beginning, like, oh yeah, we're going to use different trainers, stuff like that, and the fact that you've made it this far and you're still going, that says something, that speaks for itself.
And knowing that, I mean, if the kid goes to like a big race and loses, it's a big deal. Everybody on Instagram is going off.
Oh, and that was a big thing. We went to Hayden Devitt had been to race by himself, and we went to Ponca, and Brian was working, and he kind of sent Hayden off with the filmer Tyler, the mechanic Cody, and myself. Like, hey, okay, it was kind of like, I think not a little bit of a test, but like trial. See how you guys
see how you handle it.
And we ended up crushing it, and I think that gained a lot of the trust from there, and we've just been able to keep the fun and because I think, dude, it's also the point where you can get burnt out, and when you don't want it so much, and if you just go through the motions for so long, you just like,
that's the easiest way to get burnt out.
Right.
And as soon as that one's not there, or that passion, there's nothing to, it's so hard to bring that back.
Right. Well, and Brian seems super laid back and chill and not too like aggressive or pushy.
No, not at
but all. Regardless, like even from like my experience, any racer, like when your parents are super involved all the time, sometimes that little breather is nice. You know what I mean? It's it's just enough. It fun. It does. And it's kind of like, oh well, he's not here, so fuck, I'll make him proud. Like, let's go out and so I have a good phone call when I call him later tonight. It sucks when you gotta call and be like, yeah, it didn't go well.
No, exactly. So yeah, like I said, like for someone like Hayden, I want him to be in the best shape he can. Like, say he did get picked up by a team like factory KTM or factory Yamaha, because if obviously, like, you know, the star riders, if you get picked up by that team, they'll go off and train with Swanee. But I want at least, if that does happen, Swanee's like, oh dude, I don't have to go change. He was already where he needed to be,
right.
And then that's a great look for me.
He don't have to ride up on
I put him to where he needs to be, you know. So and one day if it didn't work out, and I could be his first call, like, hey, eventually there. So you got to take it in steps, and obviously it's like anything, you get attached to your riders, and sometimes they move on. Like I was with Viney for almost 2 years, and he's working with Rhino now, and they're doing a more one-on-one deal where I couldn't have really given him that one-on-one time that he needs. So you just got to take it with what it comes. But I mean, I've been super lucky with the riders that I have and the people around me, and pretty much everyone else has stuck with me since I've started. I've never really had people finding other ways or other trainers. So I mean, it's my passion, dude. If I couldn't make it, I know what it takes, and if my guys do well, I love it, dude. It makes me stoked to
I definitely
live through them a little bit, you know.
I definitely think you're on like the new age of like this style of training.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not super involved in the training world. Don't take this like I'm some training expert, but like, you know, I don't know if club and like MTF, you know, I just don't think that they really have that same
it's different. I think for those places it's also amazing because like for a lot of kids that come over, like they can't come over with their family, so like how does a parent leave their kid at like just to do what they want in California, where at least at MTF there's a structure. It is good for a lot of things, but there's all different ways to approach it, and
and there's nothing wrong with like the camp like
but I've had riders that have done both and they're really loving what we on, and it's more personal. So
I think the personal level, like if I was to go race and wanted to get trained, the one-on-one, like to actually go out and get better, the one-on-one is the best way to go.
Right.
The camp stuff is cool because I feel like you get kind of a whole bunch besides just the training. You kind of get like the content, you know, there's usually filmers, photographers there, like you kind of get,
and also going to a new area, like if they're going to Florida, like you don't know the tracks, so I'll go train at MTF because the track, the trainers are great and you get to experience, get rough tracks, the stages through it also. Like those places are great to go for like camps and stuff, you know, but it's not everyone's thing to go there full time, but I think to mix it up is cool, like, and that's why I'm also not jealous in that way. Like if my guys go and they go up somewhere, like go to a training school, is there something they taught you, is there something you could pick up, like you got to be open to that kind of stuff and not be
so narrow-minded.
Well, and like you said, like camps and stuff like that. Like I think the most beneficial thing with the facilities is just the group that you ride with. You know what I mean? It's not so much like don't get me wrong. I've been to SOB, I've been to club, I've been to MTF, and the trainers are great. They're smart. They do point things out, but it's a large group, so they can't see everything all the time.
Also but
the group of guys that they have are so high caliber riders that, you know, like when I was at club, I was riding a ton with Justin Brayton. Not many people get to ride with Justin Brayton. You know what I mean? So it's like it's more the group you're around with, but the one-on-one is nice, especially because, like, you know, technique's so important and stuff, and you know, when you just ride in groups and you don't really like work technique and stuff like that, I feel like it kind of slips
for sure.
And you know, you're just putting out laps. You're not really thinking about the basics and you know the important things.
And then, dude, the one thing I've also realized it's important, and I wasn't doing it so much in the beginning, but now I want to make a big effort of it, is going to all those big races like the Texas Nationals, Loretta's, those big races, because you really see what brings out the riders under those kind of pressures and see what they need to kind of work on, you know. So I'm making an effort now to try and go to all the big nationals with my guys. So ideally my goal is to be where Alden and Swanee and them are, but maybe I can do it with the next generation of guys. Like I'm actually really happy with where I am with the group I'm with now, and I'm stoked.
Is it just a coincidence that all the best trainers are South African, or what the hell's going on? What kind of shit's going on here? I mean, what are we missing?
Langston was a great. I mean, Langston. I learned so much from him, and I mean,
what are you not telling us?
There's something in the water.
What's the secret? Yeah. What's the secret?
It's pretty crazy. Like if you look at the top trainers right now, it's all the South Africans. So taking over. Yeah, I mean,
slowly but surely.
Yeah. Right?
We'll take it right into the fact that it is Saturday night. And we just watched round 4? Yeah, round 4 of Supercross.
Been a pretty crazy season.
Yeah, we'll take it into that a little bit. 250 class, a little bit of drama. Dylan fell asleep during it, so I don't know if he even knows what the.
No, that was a good race.
I took a nap.
That was a pretty gnarly race. Good charge.
Yeah, I missed the Craig Jet Lawrence incident. Did you see that?
Yeah. Before we even get into that, did anybody see the flashing light on
Craig's handlebar?
Yeah, don't even ask me. I have no idea. Like,
I don't get why it's such a big secret.
It sounded like, I know everything wants to be a secret, and I hate that, but they made it sound like he was complaining about like clutch issues at the past few rounds, maybe. So it was like a heat temperature sensor or something.
The weird thing with that though is,
but he's such a smooth rider. I wouldn't see.
He doesn't look like he's hard on the clutch at all.
I doubt it.
And the weird thing,
but he is probably 165 pounds on a. Well, that thing's like a 450. But
no, I don't think he's not someone who's hard on the clutch. You watch him ride, he's throttle control and stuff. Yeah, it's amazing. So
his style's almost like too smooth. Like it's perfect.
So that's what I'm saying. He's not a guy that would strike me as being hard on the clutch.
I don't think the commentators really had any idea.
Might have been a guess.
Yeah, like I think that was a pure guess.
Yeah, no, I have no idea.
But Jet had a little bit of issues, fell in the back a little bit. made an insane charge back to the front.
Yeah.
And then what was your opinion on him and Craig's little get
dude, that's just I think it was just unlucky. I think from Craig's point when he landed, he obviously didn't want Lawrence to get that edge on the outside, so he wanted to like outbrake him.
Yeah.
But then Jet thought the same thing, like I'm gonna outbrake him, and they kind of came together. Christian obviously went a little bit hard into it, and then once they connected, he couldn't find his groove to turn into it. They were just connected, so it's just an unlucky.
Yeah, if you're not in a rut,
corner to go, and it's like he hears Jet, and Jet's like, I'm not backing off, I'm getting this pass, and Christian's like, there's no way you're blocking me off.
Yeah,
and
right.
They just got
it's just a racing incident.
Yeah. Super solid ride.
Unlucky, but that's a problem when you get bad starts. And I mean, luckily the front of the pack is unreal, obviously, but like the mid pack and the East Coast is kind of like
it is.
He can go. He came from like last. I mean, same with heat. I think he came from 10th to 3rd in like a lap.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he was on an absolute mission. But
where in the 450, if you get a bad start, you're done. No, I don't care who you are.
Well, like I remember at the first round of Houston, I think it was like 250 LCQ. I think it was like Osby or something. Literally started last and came through, and I think he got like 2nd or 3rd. Benny Bloss like crashed or got a bad start in the 450, and he didn't make the main. Yeah, like that's how it is.
So that mid pack is a bit more like the depth isn't as much there. So like I was saying, there's times where I look at the 450 and I'm like, thank goodness I'm not racing. And then I'm like, damn, I can make.
Man, maybe we should go to 250.
Yeah, no doubt that 450 class rosters.
I'm about to just go buy a 250 and maybe hit the last 4 or something.
Right. No, but it's good to see the battles. I mean, they all won it bad. It's going to be a good battle for the title, I think, between those 3 guys. So it's
Nichols looks good.
Yeah, Nichols looks very strong.
Very good.
At least the track was more technical this one, so it's going to be a fun season to watch for both classes for sure.
Right. And then 450 class, what was your opinion on, first of all, Tomac ripping a whole shot?
That was so.
But you know, when Tomac goes for a whole shot, you know it's not going to be the best. I'm not the best, but I mean, he's almost like that kind of guy.
He does better
from the back.
He does better from the back.
So I mean, they both rode a solid race. That track was pretty gnarly. Roxon had a win coming. I think it was just he looked so solid on the bike. So
that last lap had me a little scared though, because Eli was charging, and I'm like, this cannot happen to Ken again.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, that class is so gnarly. You can just see like those guys are such a high caliber that the mid pack is just crazy. If you get a bad start, you kind of
right.
I mean, Musman worked his way up good, but there's not too much you can do. You know, like those guys are so good. So
in the 450 class, like this year for the first 4 rounds, has there been anyone that like you're like, wow, you know what, this year I've seen a lot of improvement, or anyone that stood out?
It's been nice to see him ride like himself all the time.
He's been very consistent in the mains.
I mean, Musman's riding's been great. He's just been put himself in bad positions, I guess, but his riding actually really impressed me. You know, Webb's always solid. Cincerella's always solid.
I feel like Barsh has been pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like he's got a lot of little issues too.
But it's just unlucky situations. But I mean, maybe it is that just once it's so bad that he knows, and like those first few laps he pushes so hard that maybe he makes little incidents where he crashes. So,
but I feel like his riding has improved.
Yeah,
I feel like
last year it was like not frustrating to watch him, but like he just didn't look like he gelled on the bike. And like when I watched him this year, especially the first ride, I'm like, damn, it's fun watching him again. Like his style back, it's almost like his style changed completely on that Yamaha.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not blaming the bike, but like he just didn't gel with the bike.
No,
his style
certain people gel with certain bikes,
and his form and everything. And you look now, and I'm like, damn, he just looks solid again. You know, like in control, technique, right, pace. Like I mean, obviously he made like first lap errors, but just how he just looks on the bike is just flowing again. You know?
Right. He looks like aggressively smooth again. Yeah. To where before, like you said, it kind of looked like he just fought with the Yamaha.
Yeah, but again, when you're not getting good starts, like dude, there's so many little things that can happen that you gotta. It's so hard to read those situations, and one little mistake, tapping someone's wheel, you fall down. Back to lose 10 places. It's like you got to be so perfect to do well.
I think he took a little bit of anger out on Malcolm's bike.
Yeah. Did you see that?
That's a good move, dude. He planned that perfect.
I know that worked out perfect.
Yeah, it worked out.
I love Trevor Stewart's story. He's like, did Barsha just square up with with Mookie's bike?
Yeah. Shout out to Trevor. He's funny as shit.
That shit was funny.
Yeah, but no, dude, it's so fun. I just hope no more people get injured and keep the season interesting for the whole way through.
I know. Like when you have Jason Anderson going to the LCQ, it's
that was weird. That was literally the first of his career.
But even today, you could see he was battling for like 7. Like he's riding good, dude. All those guys are riding good. It's just that if you don't have that little bit of that edge, that little it's just so hard to be.
That's what I mean.
Flawless,
like,
you know,
seeing Anderson in the LCQ and battling for 7th, like that's just so odd.
Yeah, that's why it's such a tough season. But it's just never really been like this, dude. Like if you look at the champions, those guys, you know, so you got to respect it, and it's hard to put the pressure. I'm sure they put so much pressure on themselves, but sometimes you come 7th, you can't be that hard on yourself. yourself. It's like it's just one of those years. It's not going to be one where someone's going to walk away every moto.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it'll be a year where I'd be really surprised if you have a guy come out and win more than 2 races.
Yeah, in a row, it'll be tough. It's
I think they might. This could be the year that they get the most like different race winners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually every year, I think there's only like, I think last year there was like 5 or I don't really know. I'm just guessing, but this could be a record. There's that many good guys.
I will say that after Coop's weekend last weekend, I'm a little surprised that he didn't come out and do way better.
He also didn't have the best start. He
and that track
was back, and he got up to, what was he, 4th?
3rd, I think. He got third, yeah.
Third,
but I feel like that track, like, it looked like the only way to pass people was being very aggressive.
Yeah, and you couldn't really over push coming into the corners because it was kind of slick coming in, and you had to find your line for the exit.
Yeah.
So if you over push, you would have just tucked the front.
Right.
So I think Coop's wise like that, and he was using different lines, and
it's funny.
There's so much you can do.
Right. It's funny because Indy is like, it's always known as like the ruddiest on the circuit, softer, but everyone was talking about how slick it was.
You could see all the entries were slick.
Yeah.
It was washy on the
it's
front.
weird to see that ruddy. Like, usually it's pretty tacky.
But it was tacky in the rhythms. The rhythms were deep.
Opposite of what you would want.
But it was nice to watch a more technical track. The last few were, but boring off tracks and made it simplified it too much. The track just got so beat up, so it was made for good racing.
It did.
And then Ferrandis was up near like 4th, 5th. I don't know exactly what
I don't know if he ended up somewhere 7th, but I don't know. This almost like a track that also it seemed like the 450 Yamahas would struggle a little bit on.
Yeah. Right.
It seemed like the smaller bikes of the KTMs and those bikes, you seem like you could maneuver the bike a little bit more, where those coming in tight with the front wheel washing to find that traction. Sometimes it's hard to point and shoot those bigger bikes a bit more. But dude, he's riding solid. You couldn't ask for anything more for what Ferrandis is looking.
Especially for a rookie year and him coming in behind the 8 ball,
those
being
guys
hurt.
mixing it up there every weekend. He's definitely riding that bike, and I've heard the bike's really good this year compared to what it was before. And all the guys I've spoken to seem really happy with the bike. So
and I feel like even like direction. Especially for like AP too, like now that he's like back with the star group, just the atmosphere, the team, I feel like everything's improved.
And dude, that's why those guys are so good. They're on a great program with Swanee. They've and they're just under those race conditions all the time, like when they're training together, it's like a race day every single time.
Always.
So they get so used to it, so that their little mental errors, the little errors they make on the track, all that stuff is addressed so much that they're so prepared by the race that they've been doing this in the week all the time.
Right.
Same with Alden's program, and more people are starting to adapt to that. And I try, and especially a lot of the kids that I'm training now in 65s, and I have a big group in that area, and the parents are already so serious, and I'm like, guys, we're on the West Coast here racing these little races, like, don't worry about who this guy is now. Like, if anything, that's going to help you guys. You're not even, when you get to the national, you're not going to worry about that guy next to you.
Right.
You get to the national, there's 40 kids that are all gnarly doing these things. So I'm like, the more you can learn from each other, and try not to take it serious, but the kids got to enjoy it and make the process fun, and especially at that age, you can't put too much pressure on it. It's
a lot of parents do, and there's I mean, it's more, I'm sure it was a lot of kids, but like, I don't know if you remember back in the day, there was a Connor Pearson, and dude, he was amazing, but he burnt out by the time he got, I think it was before big bikes, like 80s.
It did happen.
And it's like, it happens, I think, way more often than you think, and like, there's so many kids with so much talent and stuff, but it's like, some kids can handle it and some can't, but it's like, when you have no childhood and all you do is race and ride, and that's your whole life, it's like, if you're planning on it being your life, like,
you gotta
start slow, like, don't make the first few years like, it's gonna be for the next 20 or 30.
I mean, dude, you see some people that get injured, they're actually relieved because they're like, geez, I get a break.
I've literally been that way before.
So you gotta, because I had so many injuries through my career, so I didn't enjoy them. But I mean, I had times where I had to step away from the sport because I was over it, and then I'd come back refreshed. And every time you come back, you almost come back more wise, more. So
hungry. They always say you come back stronger.
Yeah, you've got to find the balance of. Obviously, it's not easy. You don't just ride when you want and train when you want, but you got to have a good structure, a good balance. And I mean, I believe a good structure, a good balance, make it your life. But you got to find things outside your life that also make you happy. Because if you get to that point, even if you're an incredible rider, if you by 17 years old, you're like, dude, it's just a job now. that it's not going to last very long.
Right, and that's one thing I've always, like, we've said a few times that I've always loved about, like, Roxon is, like, during the outdoor seasons and stuff, like, he flies home from the race on Sundays and he's on the lake wake surfing on his boat and, you know, like, doing fun stuff. Like, he puts in all the work he needs to and then he goes and hits the lake. Like, he does fun things. You got to find that balance.
Same thing even, like, with the guys now. It's been raining and I'm like, dude, we don't have to go to the track this week. We're going to go ride turn tracks. We're going to go to the hills, hit some jumps.
Fun stuff.
Do some trail riding, bike control. Like, let's go enjoy being on our bikes. Like, not every day has to be motos and sprints. And I'm like, let's go have some fun. And
every day on the bike is you can learn something.
I was even chatting. Carson came riding with us this week, and we were just trail riding all that. And he said, with the next day when he got into Supercross, he felt so much better on the bike, just because you do things and bike control and just
you learn things,
like different little things, you know. So you got to find that time to have fun, and that's the biggest thing. That if you can find that balance, and every time the best I've ever ridden is when I'm pumped to ride. I'm happy with my bike. I'm happy to be there. When it becomes a chore, you're worried, and there's a million other things going on in your head. It makes the job a lot harder.
It does. Yeah.
So, and dude, that's the thing is, especially a lot of these riders coming up, all the parents think their kid's going to be the next one, and there's so much that rides on it that enjoy the process, you know, because it goes too quick, and a lot of parents take it more seriously than what the kids do.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, if your kid's talented and stuff, like, definitely acknowledge it and, like, you know, do what's necessary, but like, don't put all that weight on their shoulders. It's not fair to them. You know what I mean? Unless they say, like, hey, this is what I want.
Yeah.
You know,
but it seems like it's getting less and less, because I remember I've heard some stories of some parents back in the day.
There were parents living off the money their kids were making.
Well, I think now it's become it seems like it's a little bit better. You don't see it as much, I don't think.
No, it's definitely gotten better in that aspect.
But that's what I mean. I must say, most of the parents have been cool. I kind of explained that from the beginning. That's how it is with my training. Like, and everyone's kind of worked well with it, and the kids and the parents have got on. So far it's been all right. But I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of those challenges down the road.
Yeah. So we've only got a couple minutes left. We're gonna switch it up a little bit.
Keep it PG, Ritter.
I know. I'm running the words through my brain of how I can make this clean. You are with a Monster Energy model. Kylie, awesome chick. Kylie's dope. Shout out to Kylie. Have you ever went through her Instagram comments?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't know why. I think I used to be like, back in the day, I used to be like more of that jealous type and that kind of stuff. But
well, not even in like a jealous way.
It's just
dude, like, some of the comments.
Some people are nuts, dude.
I honestly don't go through the comments. No,
that's probably healthy.
Back in the day,
DMs are probably worse.
And dude, it's like, obviously I got to know, and it was. She's that kind of person. She's friendly to everyone, but never puts off that vibe. And so I think from the beginning, I guess, like, yes, in the beginning, it was like, what am I, like, because it's unknown, you know, like, oh my god. But once we got to know each other and got settled, that like we've been good by not having that jealousy, and it doesn't bother me, dude. That's her. She's always done that stuff between her modeling and her Instagram and that stuff, and she is who she is. So it's never really fazed me, to be honest.
Yeah, and she's a professional about it. Like, regardless, you're gonna have those.
It's pure comedy, though. They're talking about kooks, like, in the comments. Oh,
it's crazy. And people she gets offered different jobs all the time, and if there's something that's maybe a bit this kind of shoot, and she'll come and like talk to me about it, and she's like, I don't want to do it. I'll be like, I'm fine, I don't care. And she'll be like, no, I don't want to do that. So she knows her own limits. You can't tell someone what to do, dude.
For sure.
So she's been cool with that, and
and I just mean more so, like, I've just like scrolled past and seen like the bottom two sometimes, and dude, some of them are just crazy. Like, I could blow one of my good friends out of the water right now, and he watches every one.
Get obsessed, dude.
He watches every one of these, and I could
we'll keep it out.
I could drop his name, and he might like it.
Maybe you drop it in the comments.
Like, he might like that I'm putting him on.
I think I know.
Yeah, I think I've told you about
it. I know who you're talking about.
But he'll know exactly who I'm talking about when he watches this. But dude, he is, and they're funny. Like, you'd have to know him to know that, like, he's just a funny kid.
Yeah.
But dude, like, some of the comments he leaves, I'm like, yo, if Kylie goes and looks at your page and sees that we follow each other, and she ever like comes, if she comes and asks me about you, I'm fucking blowing you out of the water.
Yeah.
Like,
No, but it's been good. You got to just find that. I mean, we balance and trust each other. So I mean, she also works. She works with Monster and for all the Supercrosses and stuff, and then she works in Vegas at Encore Beach Club at like the main pool party. And I mean,
we get discounts. Or?
Yeah, dude. We went 4th of July.
I'm going in 2 weeks.
A couple mates, and it's awesome out there. So I mean, you can't live in each other's lives all the time. You know, you got to have that.
No, it's healthier. I feel like that way.
Work, you know, and with my schedule and my life, it's hard to find a balance between the two anyway. So
yeah, I think the best relationships are relationships where like both people have their own things going on.
You have to,
yeah, and all the attention is still towards like what you're trying to achieve, but then you still have like your person that it's cool to go spend your time.
Well, and it makes the time that you are together better. You know what I mean? Because you're like, I can't wait till you come home. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and she's been around the industry long enough that she knows what it's about. She knows what my work requires. Like now I'm going to Texas for 5 days. I'm going out there. I'm going out to Texas for the Nationals for like 3 weeks to a month. I'm like, they'll have to go for a few weeks.
Right.
That's what it is.
And that's what's sick. Most people just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, especially even just being a racer and stuff. People are just like, like everyone has time, this and that. Like, no, you don't get it. It's that bad.
Yeah. And like, it's the studio, the stress on me. It's not even about the actual training sessions, it's about trying to plan, put the right groups together. So like I never really switch off. Like even when I get home in the evenings, I'm still
and you're just
next day, like chatting to the parents, getting it's a lot.
Like off air, Caleb just showed us his notes, and like I almost got lost in there. Like
trying to put the plans together today for the days, what groups we're gonna go with which one, how it's just gonna benefit with who, and
your schedule makes me like
60, and I don't want to put the 50 riders or the 85 riders, so I have to have my groups of my like A group, then I have my like intermediate group, and I have 65s and I have 50s and I have mini nights, and I need to have this person a week, this person once a week.
Just makes me short
4
circuit,
times,
right?
Like everything up here is just like.
I mean, right now I can get to it all, you know, and luckily I can grind like this in the winter. In the summer I've got to come up with a new business plan for sure.
You're probably that guy that lays down in bed at night and your brain doesn't stop thinking. And that's probably partly what makes you a great trainer. But literally, like, you probably lay in bed. Like, I lay in bed and I'm KO'd in 5 minutes.
That's why I actually love South Africa so much. I went there I was meant to just go for 2 weeks.
Dude, your trip looks sick.
Yeah, that was actually my
Is that hometown?
Hometown. I live on the beach in Cape Town. It's probably, if anyone's come, I've had like a bunch of friends or different people from America and all over come to Cape Town, and anyone who's been there has been like, that's the best vacation.
It looked epic because
you come from dollar to rand. Our country's so screwed with our currency that our currency is worth nothing. So when you come, like, our quality of food, quality of life, things to do, think about like a mix of San Diego, a mix of Newport Beach, a mix of like orange, that vibe, but everything is about. It cost me more money when I was injured in 2019. It cost me more money sitting on the couch here doing nothing than I took Kylie for vacation in 2018. We went for 3 weeks. We were out every day for breakfast, lunch, dinner, experiencing things, going on trips.
Still cheaper.
It's cheaper to be in South Africa than
That's
it is.
Unbelievable.
Damn. And especially there, dude. Like when I saw your stories, I'm like, I've never seen that part of South Africa.
It looked
I'm like that is definitely somewhere I want to go.
It looks like a whole different world.
Cape Town's the one you want to go to. So I mean, that's the first time I was able to actually just switch off for a while, and it was so nice, and I came back refreshed and excited to get back training. But I'm just the kind of, if I hate like not being able to get to riders or missing out on future people to work with, so I'm just taking on as much as I can right now, but eventually I'll get to a point where I'm just gonna have a more structured group and a more monthly deal with, and maybe one day hire another person to help me out and split that stuff up. So a lot of stuff will happen in the pipeline.
Do you get to like when you went home, did you get to hang out with your family and stuff?
I could spend a lot of time with the family. I mean, it's hard, dude. That's one of the biggest things, like being there all the time with my family and my friends that I've grown up with, and I made amazing friends and family here. But it's that first process. I mean, 2019 was the hardest year of my life, dude. Like being with your family and friends every day, and then coming to a new country, starting fresh, all the pressure. I had a guy that I, just before I came to the States, I invested a bunch of money, and he stole all of our money. So my whole plan of everything that I had fell apart. Figure it out, and there were times where I'm like, dude, I want to pack up, I'm going to go home. And I was like, no, I came for a reason. You push through and
stick it out.
It's not easy, dude. There's so much little hidden things I mean, life is so easy back home. I mean, I had a separate, like, me and my dad lived on the same property. I had my own little house on the property. Life was easy, everything was cheap. I got by great, and you come here and all these little hidden expenses you don't see, like medical insurance in America is like $600 a month in this and this, planning, like all these things I didn't know, and I'm like, dude, it was very overwhelming at first. But luckily I figured it out, and I couldn't be happier with the decision. And now I can at least because there's a lot of South Africa that you also is not going good, you know, and so for long term it's there's not that many opportunities where you could really, for what I'd want to do. And so now I take once a year, I'll go back home for like 3 weeks every year or to a month, go see my family and friends and go spoil myself and enjoy it. And
that's sick. You definitely look like you've got a fucking badass friend group too. Like when you go back home, you look like you just
the boys.
Well, it's been cool for them, you know. They've always like followed and been part of my racing and all that, and they've always followed this as well, you know, like guys that didn't have anything to do with motocross, but they followed because of that. So yeah, there's something with South Africans, with a lot of us, that like we really kind of stick together. For sure. That's why it's kind of hard in the beginning when I first got to the States, like who are your friends, who like everyone seemed like out for themselves so much. It was kind of hard to find like my group. But then luckily now
either that or it's weird out here because everybody kind of attaches to somebody for like a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Everyone's trying to.
Everyone wants out of someone, to benefit something.
Exactly. So I luckily had a good group of people when I came over here, like people like Grant Langston and like Johnny Louch, and they were just like a good group of guys that helped me, and obviously Mike, my sponsor, and then I got to learn friends and people in the industry, and then Twitch was like a big part of like a really good friend that helped bring me in and showed me to the right people. And so through there I just got to luckily, like I've just always adapted. I love socializing, I love meeting people, so I got to know everyone and I know who my friends are, and it was a tough kind of like figuring out stage to get settled, but the more time I'm spending here, I'm like,
and shout out to Grant. Grant Langston's the man.
Langston's sick.
I talked to Grant a whole bunch last night, and he was just kind of like giving me some pointers on even like this type of stuff.
He was a big help for me moving here. Same as Hilton Beatty. I had like also South African. I had just guys that really helped me do this, and without that I would have had this opportunity or been where I am. So that's when I have this kid Joshua Mlimi, like he came over from the States in Aviv Orland. Like I try and do as much as I can to show them and invite them in, and anyone who's coming from overseas, because it's not easy. I had to figure it all out on my own, you know, and I've had to go through those mistakes and those so many things that I've had to learn, but now I can at least, that's why it's so nice. I want to bring more people from South Africa and from around the countries, because also when people come here and they're not from here, they get ripped off, they don't know where to go, and then they end up getting like a bad
taken advantage of
where I'll come and I'll help a Kenna, we're going to get this here, I'll help organize everything so that everything's streamlined, you know, and we to not make those silly mistakes, the waste of time stuff to do what's good, what's bad. So kind of helping the next groups between where it's, and the more people that come over from overseas, I'd want to try to help that too, you know.
For sure. And that's good on you, mate.
Yeah, so it's been just the start of the adventures.
Right.
Well, we are getting close here. I tell myself that I want to do this at the end of literally every episode we've done, and I haven't done it yet. So I don't have a whole bunch of people out here that help me out, but I do have a couple. So shout out to Era. If you need graphics, hit up Era. They're the best in the game. Clover Hills has my suspension right now. They are. Do you know Clover Hills at all? Do you know
they work with a lot of the younger riders, a lot of my like kids in the 65s and 50s,
great
use
dudes.
Clover Hills, because they what's good with them is they at least go to all the tracks like for the mini kids, so they get like help. So
shout out to Clover Hills. They're taking great care of me right now. State of Ethos, obviously, shout out to them.
I actually got a beanie.
Ooh,
zoom in on this puppy. What's good?
We finally hooked Dylan.
I stole a beanie from him,
but Traction MX, just kind of going through the few people, like I said. Adventure Brand, this is the hoodie that I'm currently wearing. Give me a little spin, Hush Boy. I'm going to try to do this without fucking everything up. This hoodie right here, absolutely fire. Can you get the back? I don't know if you got it. I can't actually turn around without busting
these
all this
weren't
stuff
really
out.
Designed for that. But
these weren't designed to get up, but this was the homie Mason who helped us out on the Insiders merch.
Yeah, and check this one out. We'll get a little close up on this puppy. Ooh, got the big logo on the back.
So shout out to Adventure Brand and the homie Mason for help hooking us up with those. But we are going to wrap this up. Caleb, thanks a ton for coming out, brother. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad we finally got you on.
Yeah, I have to do it in a couple of months again, see where we are in a year's time.
Exactly, for sure. We
bigger and better things.
I think we're going to take a break next week. I promise we are trying to figure out the audio. So ideally, the next time we're back in here, the audio is going to sound better. So I think we're going to take a week off, but maybe not. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
We'll drop our Venmo in case you want to be put in some money for some of this equipment.
Drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscription, or however that works. Hesh boy, get us out of here.
And we'll catch you next time.
All right, peace.
Later.
What's up, boys? Oh.